Do you recognize this photo? This was the moment American President John F. Kennedy found out that the first Prime Minister of Congo, Patrice Lumumba, was no longer alive. You see, in order to understand the current genocide that's occurring in Congo, it's important to understand some of the political context within the country's history. We could maybe describe America and Congo as star-crossed lovers, two countries with the potential for a healthy and fulfilling future, but simply were never meant to be. After the devastating effects of the Second World War, there was a change in momentum for many Africans living in colonized countries. Congo was finally starting to find its voice, with educated Congolese elites forming political parties such as Parti Solidaire Africain, who were helping Congo spark for independence within the Belgian bureaucracy. With the smell of independence in the air, Belgium tried to fight back, forcing a national census vote where only men were allowed to vote against political parties within the Belgian government. However, political parties such as Parti Solidaire Africain urged men not to vote in the country and to boycott the census vote. This boycott did lead to the arrest of many Congolese men, but it was a huge success. You see, Belgium was scared for another costly war. Belgium didn't have the finances to back this up. In an attempt to maintain some sort of control, Belgium invited 13 Congolese political parties to the month-long Brussels Roundtable talks. In this table talk, Belgium presented the idea to form a puppet government, which would give the illusion that Congo was in control of its own government, but Belgium would be pulling the strings behind everyone's backs. However, despite the personal and political differences between these 13 political parties, all 13 parties banded together on a unified front in defense of Congo's fight for independence from Belgium. And they won. And so, on June 30th, 1960, Congo was allowed to have a free election to appoint its own Congolese prime minister and president, free of Belgian rule. Now, like I mentioned, these political parties, like in any other country, had their different ideas on how Congo should be run, as well as their own personal differences that stemmed back to pre-colonial times. We're talking ethnic differences, tribal clashes, that kind of thing. Things that stem from centuries and centuries of rivalries between kingdoms, tribes, leaders. So after the free election was called, obviously these political parties did have a lot of disagreements. However, the largest political party that saw the most success within Congo was the Congolese National Movement. The leader of this political party being Patrice Lumumba, Congo's first prime minister. The Congolese National Movement leaned more to the left and emphasized the need for a pan-African united front of Congo. I think it's important for me to note some of the key points that Lumumba made for his political party when he was elected prime minister. In his speech, and I quote, "But his vision for the country involves the ending of the suppression of free thought and seeing to it that all citizens enjoy freedoms laid down in the Declaration of the Rights of Man, doing away with discrimination, and bringing peace to the country, not by using rifles and bayonets, but through goodwill." In order to achieve these goals, Lumumba states that the country should count not only on their tremendous strength and immense riches, but also on the assistance of many foreign countries whose collaboration they will always accept if it is sincere and does not seek to force any policy on any sort whatsoever onto them. So now we know what Lumumba stood for in terms of the future he saw in Congo. A week after the free election, Congo's government was confronted with the Congo crisis, a series of succession movements and rebellions. The first week of July, a mutiny broke out within the army between the black and white civilians. So Belgium sent its troops to help rescue the white civilians who were trying to flee the country. And in doing so, it also provided military support towards the succession movements within the regions of Katanga and South Kasai, where Belgium had invested a lot of money within mining companies because these regions of Congo yield the most natural resources such as copper, gold, and cobalt. With Congo in crisis, Lumumba then decided to present himself to Eisenhower's administration in hopes of getting military assistance from the US. Unfortunately, he was met with a really poor response. Eisenhower's administration was cold and critical towards Lumumba, and Congo's own ambassador made cannibalistic jokes towards Lumumba himself. The UN did try to send peacekeepers to support the Congolese government in controlling the rebellions, but UN General Dag Hammarskjöld prevented these peacekeepers from being able to support Congo's government within these secessionist states. This is because the UN wanted to negotiate with these secession states rather than helping Lumumba control them so that Congo could be in control of its own natural resources. So, with no financial aid from the US, UN, or support from Congo's own military, Lumumba had no option but to turn to the Soviet Union, who offered a very meager form of military aid to help control the rebellions within the country. However, Lumumba turning towards the Soviet Union triggered a series of events that unfortunately would lead to his death.